And I'm live. Happy Friday, everybody in the Anxiety Free Life and My Local Hypnosis Facebook page, and also to anyone watching this later on YouTube. My name is Naomi Stockman from My Local Hypnosis and Anxiety Free Life. Feel free to pop a comment on, and if you're watching this afterwards, just do a hashtag replay so I know you've watched it. I am streaming from StreamYard, so I won't be able to see your name unless you allow StreamYard to display your name, or just to type your name after the comment. Either is fine. So I wasn't very prepared. I was actually, when you're really focused on doing something and you're just trying to squeeze every last minute out of it. And we didn't have a poll this week on the topic. So I've picked one that I was thinking of speaking about, which is about manifesting, about the law of attraction. And there's so many people that are, talking about this stuff, and there's all these, ads that you see, or, click here or download my ebook on how to change your life and get what you want, and, the missing secrets to manifesting. And I do consider myself to be a pretty powerful manifester. In fact, my entire life reflects pretty perfectly everything that I have deliberately manifested. And then it also reflects all the inner fears that I still have that I haven't dealt with. So I just want to chat about how I use whatever you want to call it, attraction, manifesting. I call it N-Chanting because I've created a deliberate system, which I know works because it's changed my life, on how to get rid of stuff that you don't want and add things into your life that you do want. So for me, a long time ago, I was poor and I was distressed, and I had no love or connection, or not many friendships. I just was not in a good place. And I began to use different techniques that were introduced to me through books, which my mother had. Florence Shovel Shim or something was one, and Louise Hay was another, and converted all that stuff into a type of writing and a type of chanting. Now, back then we didn't have iPhones. You couldn't record stuff easily unless you had one of those tape deck type things, and it was all pretty, you're not going to walk around. Well, I wasn't walking around with a tape recorder, so I was writing stuff and speaking stuff. So I just want to talk a little bit about how to know what to put into your life that you haven't got, and how to then get it in there. So what I did when I started was I just focused on money, because that was something that had a massive deficit in my life. Like I wanted a partner, and I wanted to have enough money to be able to live and stuff. And that actually came around pretty quickly. And then the trouble with this stuff is that once that you get what you want, it's like a goal. You get it, and then life just plateaus again. So it's like I don't have something, and you're looking up the mountain, and what you want's up here, and then you kind of get up there, and we just plateau then, and everything feels normal. It's not till you look over the edge and look back down and say, oh, hang on, I came from down there, so I actually do have a lot of the stuff that I want. Now, I'm going to talk briefly about psychics as well. So I have been to psychics. Like, to me, when I've been to a psychic, I've been at that low point in my life where I'm like so lost, so confused. I just want someone to give me some kind of level of hope. And I have had good experience, and I've had not so good experience. I've had really good psychics that have like spoken stuff, and it has happened. Now, some of the things with those psychics that they said were really distressing, that I didn't want, and it actually created a lot of fear and upset in me, because if you're married and a psychic says you're going to get divorced and you don't want to get divorced, that can be like really distressing for you at the time. And that's actually what happened to me. The psychic said to me, I walked in there, I was wearing no wedding rings, I never wore rings, and the psychic said, she's sitting there shuffling the cards, she looked at me and she goes, oh, you are married to the most selfish man I've ever seen. And then she kept shuffling and she looks up and she goes, you're not going to stay there, you're going to leave. And I just swore in that moment. Like, I walked out quite distressed, and I thought about it for 3 days, and I thought, I am going to make a resolution. I'm not going to leave no matter what. And 6 months later, I just there's something snapped and out I went. Yeah, it's not nice, is it? It's not nice when someone's made a comment that happened to them too, not about divorce, but about something else very disturbing. And it's not a nice feeling. And so from there, I actually, after I left that relationship, I actually thought, well, she was right, so let's go back. And everything she said after that was positive, and it did eventuate and things like that. But I also booked in another one, which was over the phone. Now, I was in Sydney and she was up in Queensland. There was an hour's time difference. I got the appointment time wrong, so I was like spam calling her, thinking, because it was a prepaid one, so I thought she just was a scam and took my money. And I'm sending all these text messages. She was quite yours came true as well. Oh wow. And so it was quite confronting. Sorry, I was ringing this woman, and by the time I got her on the phone, she was like really irritated, and she just said the most horrible things. Like, it was just like she just went, your life's going to go to crap, everything's going to be terrible, and you're just going to have a terrible, miserable life. And I felt so shaken up after that woman, because I could tell that she was annoyed with me. That I went back to the first woman and said, this woman's spoken this stuff over me. And so she spoke a whole range of different stuff over me and told me, don't worry about it, it's not going to happen, it's not true. She was talking about people's intentions. So I since then realized that if somebody says something, thank you, if somebody says something to you or speaks something over you, it actually has a power, because what they've actually done is, when you go to a psychic, you're actually opening yourself up to receive from them, and your mind's listening to what they're saying. So I mean, it really matters what you let people speak over you and to you. So you actually have to be a bit careful. And if you do if I go to see a psychic, I always say, look, I only want to hear things that are in my best interest, positive and empowering, like stuff that is going to be beneficial. Like, there is no good to come out, of something that's negative. If somebody, I have heard someone saying, go and get something checked, and they actually found that they had something, so that could be beneficial, but that's not the same as basically like cursing someone. So that's how I took it. I think that what you speak over someone actually matters, especially if that person's open to receiving it. So really, really important. Now, that brings me back to manifesting, because when you have a belief system and you are focusing on it, and you give your power to it, and you feel into it, and you imagine it, and you speak it, you're actually bringing it into existence. So whatever you can imagine, whatever you can put emotion, imagination, repetition, trance. And if you think about when you're sitting in front of a psychic and you're literally like, you're like in a trance in that moment, because like you're trying not to miss anything that they're saying. You're really focused on what it is that's that's coming out of their mouth. So I'm linking this together with psychics because of the commonality, the speaking part and the believing part. So what the system that I use for manifesting, and I mainly do it as like a true north kind of thing. Like, so the way I look at it is, if you don't have a rut that your wheel's in that you created, then like you are just going anywhere, everywhere, and all over the place. So I like to create a rut, a channel to keep my wheels straight. So what I do is I look at what it is that I'd like in my life, and life's pretty good at the moment. So I'm sort of like, what do I want? Do I want, I don't want to own an island. I don't want to buy a jet. I don't want to, I'm just creating like really big wild things here. But mainly what I want in life is to feel happy, to have nice friends around me, to enjoy weekend socializing and have fun. I want to be laughing. I want to be talking. I want to be, clinking wine glasses and playing with my kids. And I want them to grow up and be happy and respectful. But what ends up happening is like life drags you down in places, the Duplo's all over the floor, the teenager hasn't come out of a room for 4 hours, and then when she does, she doesn't want to talk to anyone. Like, things happen and they take you out of that rut. So I use this process called N-Chanting, where I create a chanting it's a sensory rich, tangible experience that I can describe. So if I and I just did a webinar on this with a private group last night. So, and I use the example, if I say to you, you reach down into the fruit bowl and you pick up a beautiful apple and it's all shiny, and you rub it on your shirt and you can feel the apple in your hand and it's cool, and then you bring it to your mouth and like you bite into it, you feel the pressure of your teeth on it and you break the surface, and that sweet apple juice bursts into your mouth, and you've got this big piece of apple between your teeth, and now you're trying to crunch it down, it doesn't fit in your mouth properly, and if I give you a thing of what you see, hear, feel, experience, you can actually like live it in your mind. Like you can experience, if I told you a story about and you something, don't want to say anything really terrible, but if I sort of described stepping on a snail in bare feet, and I said, and you put your foot and look, like I could really get descriptive, and I could kind of make you to the point where you're like, and so this experiential thing that you can create with words and imagination is what my N-Chanting stuff's about, because you can actually write out, I am, I have, I can, I feel, I see, I experience, I choose, a whole stack of stuff that is like a story. And if you do it for your whole life, if you do it for your work life, your family life, your relationships, your weekend experiences, your holidays, your diet, your exercise, your health, like if you create like a little chant, and it only might take 5 minutes to say it, and you record it on your phone and then you speak it on a daily basis, you're giving yourself an experience of a reality that you are going to be able to move towards. Your unconscious mind is filtering all the time. If we don't give it a knowledge of what it is to filter out or to create, and then it's just going on past programming. Like it's like whatever's in you already programmed, it's just going to keep reproducing like whatever you've already had. So most people, what they've already had is like a kind of like a palatable level. If you've got anxiety, life can get quite bad. If you've got depression, life can get quite bad. So this kind of manifesting thing can help create something that is better, and it also releases dopamine. So because if you're having an experience about stepping on a snail, if I describe to you and you're in the traffic and it's really, really hot and you're 10 minutes late for work, and like if I gave you enough stimulation, you could trigger cortisol release and distress and anxiety and all kinds of stuff. So when you're having an imaginary experience of something good, you can also trigger the release of dopamine and like all that sort of stuff, and serotonin. So dopamine moves us towards things. Serotonin makes us feel happy. Your unconscious mind is releasing like neurotransmitters and hormones and chemicals and stuff into your body, depending on what messages it gets. And it doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So when you worry, you actually feel stressed, right? It's imagination and you're feeling stressed. And when you do the opposite to worrying, which is creating amazing experiences in your mind with, words and description, and flesh it out a bit. For some reason, we're so good at imagining terrible stuff, and the good stuff is like, really takes a bit of effort. So if you can practice that, you'll be able to bring stuff into your life that is amazing. And then you don't need to go to a psychic to tell you to speak over you, because you can speak it over yourself. And I believe that is where religion talks about prayer, like it's a speaking thing. You know what I mean? It's a speaking thing. You don't need to believe in a particular thing, or you can, it's up to you. It's, whatever. The speaking part still works no matter whether you put, an amen on the end or you don't. It's like gravity. It doesn't care if you're a good person or a bad person. You jump out of a window, you're going to land. And that's the same with words. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's the content that you're putting into it and when you're speaking it, and how much emotion, repetition, and trance that you're putting into it. If you say the same thing every day and it's amazing and it gives you a good experience, it releases dopamine and it programs your unconscious, you're going to get good things related to that in your life. So I hope that has given you a little bit of content to munch over in your mind and think about. And if you have a story about something that a psychic has spoken over you, whether it's good or bad, I would love to read about it in the comments below. Like, feel free to share, because look, this is such a common thing. Like, anytime I talk to people about psychic experiences, some people have like a, oh, that one wasn't right, but this one was, or they have like what I've spoken about, where you have something horrible said to you and you're like, I wish I'd never heard that, and you can't unhear it. And that's where like having to replace it, like wash over it. It's like you got a cassette tape and someone just recorded some crap on it, and it's like, luckily I can just record straight over the top of that and delete it out. But the worst thing you can do is what I did, which is put all your energy into refusing it and denying it and resisting it. So I'm not going to get divorced. I'm not going to get divorced. Well, unconscious mind doesn't process negatives. Boom, 6 months later, there I go. So anyway, have a beautiful weekend, and hopefully filled with lots of happy times, laughter, friendships, a few wine glasses clinking if you're into wine, and if not, cups of tea. I'm into more cups of tea than wine, to be honest, but I do like one every now and then. All right. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.